You were never taught how to be powerful. You were taught how to be good. And here's what no one tells you. Those two things are never the same. In fact, for most women, they're almost perfectly opposed. Good girls are grateful. Good girls are agreeable. Good girls work hard, stay small, and smile while they do it. And the wild thing, you probably don't even know that you're doing this because it doesn't feel like compliance. It feels like you. And that is the whole design. I've sat across from women, brilliant, successful, self-aware women who are generating real money, building real things, and still hitting a ceiling that they can't name. And when we pull it apart, every single time, underneath the strategy and the burnout and the quiet resentment, there's a good girl running the show. She's the one who can't ask for more without feeling greedy, who softens her prices before anyone even pushes back, who says yes when she means no and calls it being professional. She's the one keeping you exactly where you are. So today, we're going to look at her, all of her, in your business, your relationships, in your money, in your body, because good girl conditioning doesn't live in one area of your life. It runs your life. And most women miss it entirely. And that's what we're going to fix today. So before we go any further, let me tell you exactly what this video is and what it's going to do for you. In the next 20 or so minutes, I'm going to show you the single belief system that is quietly running your business, your relationships, your money, your body, and your sense of self. It's the good girl conditioning. And it's the reason 99% of women miss it is because it doesn't feel like a limitation. It feels like integrity. And we're going to walk through exactly how it shows up, domain by domain, so that by the end of this video, you're not just nodding along, you're seeing yourself specifically, clearly, probably uncomfortably. And then I'm going to show you the shift, the actual practical shift that moves you from compliant to confident, and what that unlocks in every single area of your life. No fluff, no theory for the sake of theory, just the most useful 20 or so minutes that you've spent on your own growth in a long time. So stay with me. This one is going to matter. So what is good girl conditioning at its core? It's a belief system. And like all belief systems, it operates mostly below the surface. Quiet, automatic, invisible. You don't sit down and consciously decide, I'm going to follow the rules today. It just sounds like your own internal voice. And that voice, she speaks almost entirely in shoulds. I should be further along by now. I should be able to handle this. I should be grateful. Look at everything I have. I should want less. I should have less. I should be able to do this without complaining. Does any of that sound familiar? It's not discipline. It's not high standards. That's good girl programming, and it is running your internal world like a full-time job. The belief system at the center of all of it sounds something like this. I have to follow the rules. I have to be nice. Don't rock the boat. Good girls don't fill in the blank. Good girls don't charge that much. Don't take up that much space. Don't want too much. Don't ask for too much. Don't need too much. And when they do, when you push past the invisible line, you don't get rewarded. You get the guilt, the second guessing, the quiet sense that something is wrong with you for wanting more. And here's what I want you to take in. Nothing is wrong with you. The should is not the truth. It is the conditioning. And the cruelest part is that it sounds so reasonable, so responsible, that most women never question it. They just keep making themselves wrong over and over for not being enough of something they were never supposed to be in the first place. And that is what we are going to unwind today. So let's start with your business and how it shows up there, because this is where I see it most clearly and where it costs women the most. On the surface, you're doing the work. You're showing up, you're delivering, you're building something real. And yet there's this persistent low-grade feeling that you're somehow playing it safe, dimming something, holding back in a way that you can't quite articulate. That's her, the good girl. And in business, she sounds like, I should be more consistent before I put my prices up. I should wait until I'm more established to say that. I should make this more palatable. I don't want to come across as too much. I should be grateful for what I'm already making. She is terrified of being too bold, too direct, too visible, because somewhere along the way, you learned that being those things made you difficult, unlikable, unprofessional. So instead, you play by these invisible rules. Rules that no one handed you in writing, rules nobody will ever actually enforce, and yet you follow them religiously. You soften your messaging before anyone pushes back. You over-explain your prices. You shrink your offer before it even goes to market, preemptively making yourself easier to say yes to. You call it being strategic. And here's what I want to offer you instead. The ceiling you keep hitting in your business is not a strategy problem. It is not a marketing problem. It is not a visibility problem. Although it shows up in all of those places, it is a permission problem. The good girl is waiting for someone to tell her that it's okay to go bigger, to charge more, to say the bold thing, to be the fullest, most unapologetic version of what she's building. That permission is never going to come from the outside. It never was. And until you see that the rule following is the constraint, not the safety net you think it is, the wins will keep arriving wrapped in exhaustion because the good girl effort was never designed to feel like freedom. Now let's look at relationships. And I want you to stay with me here because this one tends to hit a little closer to home. The good girl in your relationship is probably the most practiced version of her because she's had the longest runway. She was shaped before you even knew that you were being shaped, in how you watch the women around you love, accommodate, and disappear. And in your relationships, she sounds like, I should be more patient. I should be less reactive. I shouldn't need so much reassurance. I should be able to handle this without making it a whole thing. I should be easier to love. She is the peacekeeper, the accommodator, the one who reads the room before she speaks, edits herself mid-sentence, and then lies awake at night with all of the things that she didn't say. She cannot be angry. She cannot be messy. She cannot be demanding, because demanding women are difficult women, and difficult women don't get loved. That's the deal she made, somewhere so early she doesn't even remember making it. So she becomes the chill girl, the low maintenance one, the one who says, I'm fine, with the kind of precision that wins Oscars because she has been rehearsing that line her entire freaking life. Here's what it costs her. Not just in the obvious ways like unmet needs and resentment that builds so quietly she almost misses it. It costs her herself. The parts of her that are fierce and certain and beautifully inconvenient. The parts that have something to say. The good girl doesn't just keep the peace in your relationships. She keeps you small inside of them. She teaches the people around you exactly how much of you that they're allowed to expect. And then she wonders why she feels so unseen. You were not designed to be palatable. You were designed to be known. Let's talk money. This is where good girl conditioning gets expensive. And I mean that literally. Because the good girl has a very particular relationship with money. One that was handed to her so early, so quietly, that it just feels like her personality, like who she is. She's not someone who talks about money. She's not someone who asks for more. She's not someone who negotiates or pushes back on a price or names a number without her stomach dropping slightly. Good girls are grateful for whatever they're given. And gratitude, real, genuine gratitude is beautiful. Yet this isn't that. This is gratitude as a cage. In your business, it sounds like, I should be happy with what I'm making. I should wait until I've done more to charge more. I shouldn't put my prices up. What will people think? I should make it more accessible. I should make it easy for people to say yes. I should be able to make this work with what I have. I shouldn't ask for that. I don't want to seem high maintenance. And underneath all of it, the belief that has probably never been spoken out loud, yet has been running everything. Good girls don't ask for more. More is greedy, and greedy women are not good women. So you leave money on the table consistently, quietly, and with a smile. You undercharge for work that transforms people. You discount before anyone even asks. You build offers around what feels reasonable rather than what reflects the actual value of what you do. And then you wonder why the income feels like it has a ceiling. It does. You built it. With every should that told you wanting more made you someone you didn't want to be. So here's the reframe. Wanting more is never greed. It is clarity. It is knowing your worth with enough conviction to say it out loud. And then hold the line while someone else catches up to it. The good girl, she can't do that. The woman you're becoming, she can. Now, I want to be really transparent with you here. I don't have kids, not yet. And I'm not going to pretend otherwise because you'll feel it, and this whole conversation is built on something more honest than that. And yet, I've watched this play out so close in parenting, in my clients, in the women that I'm closest to, in the way this good girl conditioning doesn't soften when motherhood arrives, it intensifies. Because suddenly there's a whole human whose outcome feels like your report card. And it sounds like, I should be more patient. I should be more present. I should be doing more activities, less screen time, better food, more connection. I should be able to handle this without losing it. I should be grateful. I wanted this. The good girl becomes the perfect mother, or she exhausts herself trying. She compares obsessively, not because she's insecure, but because the rule book got thicker the moment she became responsible for someone else. And every moment she falls short of the standard that she never actually chose, she makes herself wrong for doing it. The guilt, it isn't a parenting problem. It's a good girl problem. And it was there long before the children arrived. If this is you, I see you. And we're going to come back to what this actually costs you and what's available on the other side. And now let's talk about your body. This one is quiet. It's the domain where the good girl conditioning does some of its most intimate, most insidious work. Because it doesn't just live in your mind here, it lives in how you eat, how you move, how you speak about yourself when you catch your reflection, how you feel at the end of a day when you did well versus a day when you didn't. Because the good girl has rules about her body, a lot of them. And they sound like, I should be eating cleaner. I should have worked out today. I should be able to stick to this. I shouldn't have eaten that. Now I've ruined it. I should be further along with this by now. I should want to be healthier. Why can't I be consistent? She follows diet rules like a religion, and it has nothing to do with health and everything to do with compliance. The plan is the authority, the program is the rule book, and her own body, the hunger, its signals, its rhythms, becomes something to manage, override, and punish when it steps out of line. She cannot trust herself because trusting yourself is not something good girls were taught to do. They were taught to follow the right system, find the right expert, do it the right way. Their own instincts are suspect. And so the relationship with her body becomes another performance, another area where she's either on or off track, good or bad, winning or failing. There is never a neutral. There is no rest. There is no, I know what my body needs today. There is only the should and the shame spiral when she falls short of it. Your body was never meant to be a rule book that you either pass or fail. It was meant to be something that you actually live in. And the good girl, she's never really been home in hers. So how did we get here? How did we create all of this? Because none of it happened by accident. And it wasn't just one moment, one conversation, or one person who did this to you. It was 1,000 tiny moments across your entire childhood and life that add up to this very clear instruction. Be good, be nice, be easy, never be too much. You were rewarded for compliance, a gold star for sitting quietly, praise for being helpful, approval for not making a fuss, and you were smart. God, you were smart. So you learnt fast. You learned that the version of you that followed the rules got love, got safety, got belonging. And the version of you that didn't, that got complicated. Maybe she got called bossy. Maybe she got told that she was too sensitive, too loud, too much, and nobody said anything at all. Maybe it was a look, a silence, a withdrawal of warmth that lasted just long enough for you to make sense of it, loud and clear. That version of you is not welcome here. So you edited her, gradually, carefully, with the precision of someone who knew instinctively that belonging was the most important thing. You kept the parts that got applause and you quietly shelved the parts that didn't. And by the time you were a teenager, you'd fully formed this identity built almost entirely around what was acceptable to everyone else. You called it your personality. You called it just being who you are. It was survival dressed up as character. And here's what makes it so hard to see as an adult. It worked. The good girl got you here. She got you the grades, the relationships, the income, the reputation. She is genuinely capable and genuinely hardworking and genuinely good at what she does. She just has a ceiling and you've hit it. Because the strategies that got you to this level of success were built by someone who was optimizing for approval. And approval has a limit. It will never take you to the version of yourself that operates from total conviction, total permission, total trust in her own instincts. That version of you, until now, was never socialized. She was shelved. And she has been waiting very patiently for you to come back to her. So here's where it changes. And I want to be clear. This isn't about becoming somebody who doesn't care, someone who's ruthless or cold or burns everything down in the name of authenticity. That isn't confidence. That's just a different kind of performance. The shift from compliant to confident is quieter than that and more profound. It starts with a single question that the good girl has never been allowed to ask. What do I actually want? Not what should I want, not what would be reasonable to want, not what would make me easier to love, easier to work with, easier to be around. What do I actually want? And for a lot of women, that question lands like a small earthquake because the honest answer has been buried under so many layers of should that finding it requires this huge dig, real patience, real willingness to sit with the discomfort of your own desire without immediately editing it into something more palatable. And then once you find it, you have to do the harder thing. You have to decide that it's allowed, that you are allowed, that wanting more doesn't make you greedy and taking up space doesn't make you difficult and having needs never made you high maintenance. It makes you a human, a fully expressed, unapologetic, sovereign human. The confident woman is not someone who stopped caring what people think overnight. She's someone who gradually, deliberately chose her own inner authority over the noise of everyone else's expectations. She built a relationship with her own instincts so solid that the old shoulds lost their grip. She still has values. She still has integrity. She's still kind, genuinely kind. Not strategically kind, not kind as a survival mechanism. She's just no longer available to make herself smaller so that other people stay comfortable. And that shift, that single shift in identity changes everything. The income expands. The relationships deepen. The body becomes somewhere she actually lives. The business becomes an expression of who she is rather than a performance of who she thinks she should be. It was never a strategy problem. It was always an identity waiting to be reclaimed. So let's make this practical, because I don't want you to walk away from this video with just a feeling. I want you to walk away with something that you can actually use. The first thing I want you to do is start noticing the should. No fixing of it yet, no arguing with it, just notice it. Because the good girl operates largely in the dark. She thrives on automation, on invisibility, on feeling so natural that you never ever question her. So the first act of reclamation is simply shining a light. Start listening for the internal voice that speaks in shoulds. I should be further along. I should want less. I should be able to handle this. And when you hear it, pause. Get curious and ask yourself, whose rule is this? Where did this come from? And more importantly, is it actually true? Most of the time, when you hold a should up to the light, it will dissolve. Not because you've done anything dramatic, because the moment you see the program consciously, it stops being automatic and it becomes a choice. And you cannot be controlled by a choice that you know you're making. The second thing, and this is the one that changes everything, is to start practicing the replacement. Every should has an alternative. And the alternative isn't necessarily the opposite of the should. It's just something more spacious than that. I should be grateful for what I'm making becomes I'm proud of what I built and I'm ready for more. I should be able to handle this without complaining becomes I'm allowed to have needs and naming them is never a weakness. I should wait until I'm more ready becomes I'm ready enough right now to take the next step. This isn't toxic positivity, and it's also not pretending. This is deliberately choosing the identity that expands you rather than the one that contains you. And the more you practice it, the more it becomes the automatic voice, the new default, the new you. The third thing, and I say this with complete conviction, is that you probably can't do this alone. Not because you're not capable, you are extraordinarily capable, yet because the good girl was built in relationship, in the eyes of other people, in the mirror of how others responded to you. And she unravels the same way in relationship, in conversation with someone who can see the programming that you can't yet see yourself. This is the work that I do, and it is the most profound work I have ever witnessed. Watching a woman make sense of the cage that she has built and then walk straight out of it, realizing she was never actually locked in. That is what's available to you. Not someday, now. So here's my question for you. How long have you been being good? How long have you been following the rules, softening the edges, making yourself easier to digest and calling it professionalism or humility or just being realistic? How much has that cost you in income, in energy, in the quiet, persistent sense that the life you're actually living is a slightly smaller version of the one you're capable of? Because I want to offer you something that the good girl in you is probably already uncomfortable with: a conversation. This isn't a sales call. It's not a strategy session. It's a real conversation where we pull apart your specific version of good girl programming and we look at exactly where it's running your business and your relationships and we map it out. Because when she no longer gets to make the decisions, you actually get to be free. The cost of not having this conversation is everything that you've already been paying. And if you're done being good at the expense of being free, the link is below. So book the call. Come and find out who you actually are when you stop performing who you should be, because she's been waiting long enough.